Review of Westworld. I've never been a fan of this show. I wasn't a fan of Season 1. Season 2 was worse. Season 3 was better than Season 2. So I might not be the best person to review it, but I might be the best person to review it because I wasn't biased by an initial love of it or anything. I'll start with the things that I like about it. First of all, it's not predictable. Work went into the writing. And I'm not always able to predict what's going to happen. There seems to be an overarching plot, which is nice. It's willing to take chances and have things change. It's not just saying, let's just repeat the same formula from the first season. They're certainly working hard and trying. As an idea-driven story, it seems to have ideas. I'm not sure whether they're good or not, but it certainly does seem to have ideas. And I am curious to see where it goes. Season 3, the greatest thing about it, well, I mean, from between Season 1 and Season 3 is that things change, right? Season 1 is in Westworld. I guess I'll try not to spoil anything. Season 2 isn't the same. It isn't even... Whatever, I'm not going to... You might, I guess, just assume that you're getting it spoiled. It doesn't play it safe, and that's always refreshing. The other thing is it's very high budget, so that's very rewarding on a visual level. You feel like you're watching a movie. I've got a big screen TV with a woofer and all of that, so it's quite enjoyable to watch. It's a visual masterpiece, I suppose. The opening song, the theme, is a very nice, very well done song, and the opening, I don't know what you call it, the thing that opens a TV show, theme music, and they I don't know, they got the horse walking and the guy playing the skeleton robot playing the piano. That's very well done. It's very amazing. So that's it for the good. The rest is all bad. The guy who created and wrote the show is Christopher Nolan's brother, who used to write for Christopher Nolan movies. And it shows, because he's always trying to do puzzles, and he thinks that twists and turns are going to make up for zero character development. And I don't mind idea-driven stories, but there is a reason why a story has characters. Otherwise, you could just be like telling a narrative without any characters. I mean, even 1984 by George Orwell, that's the most idea-driven story I've ever read. And it still has a main character with needs who you can identify with. That's why it's called a story. So yeah, I'm sick of, it's great that it's unpredictable, but that doesn't take the place of whether there's actually a great story or not. And it remains to be seen because the show isn't over yet. So we'll see. We'll see how it all ends up. I was surprised to find out that a friend of mine whose opinion I respect watched the whole show. And I'll repeat what he had to say. I found it interesting. He said, first of all, the characters are all unlikable, and you'll see them tortured and raped and abused, and that's supposed to alone make you endear yourself to them. And then it's okay that they become nasty. He said it's almost like a Quentin Tarantino movie or something. And he said, yeah, basically all the characters are nasty. They're just really mean. And all they do is hurt each other. He said it's everybody's sadistic on that show. He also said he's just sick to death of every single sci-fi show being about artificial intelligence. And he mentioned Picard. Yeah, I can see that. And of course he also said that when you read great sci-fi writers like Arthur C. Clarke, it's just so much better. Who needs this crap? This friend of mine loved Battlestar Galactica, but I always said the thing I don't like about that show is that the characters, I don't like any of them. They're not memorable. I can't even remember any of their names, and I couldn't describe their personalities. And I feel the same way about Westworld. Every character is just so nasty. You don't like any of them. And I just finished Season 3, so I do remember some of their names, but I doubt in 5 years I'll remember any of their names. Dolores, Maeve, the black guy that's a robot that has a mustache that was friends with Anthony Hopkins. I don't remember Anthony Hopkins' name. The man in black, that's all I know his name. That's all I know of his name. And the guy that does this, the chick that does that. I don't know anything about them. They're all pretty miserable, and they've got a lot of hatred. In terms of what other YouTube critics, I would call them, have said about how it's pushing agendas and all the men are weak and all the women are powerful, I think that's a really tired argument that was never strong. I don't really give a shit if women are powerful. I prefer it, if anything, because I rather look at hot chicks than guys anyways. I don't mind chicks being warriors and cutting the men's heads off. I actually kind of enjoy it. The problem is that it sucks. The way they're writing it now, it just sucks. These female characters are not cool. And I don't really give a shit about agendas being pushed into something if they're done correctly, because then it'll be a good story. And I mean, every movie and TV show, its story has an agenda, whether the writer knows it or not, and whether you like it or not. You'll always find something. So now I'm going to mention my main criticism, which I think ties into my main criticism of all the new stuff, a lot of the new stuff that goes on these days. I juxtapose it with a show I just downloaded and I'm starting to watch, Little House on the Prairie. I watched that when I was a kid, and I'm watching it right now, and I'm like, it slows down, it takes time to build the story, it doesn't need to constantly shock you. You know why these characters are all nasty in these new shows? It's because it's the only way they think they can shock you into watching. Oh my god, I can't believe they did that. Oh, and I think also, it's a way for an inferior writer to make a character look intelligent if you have them always being jaded and onto everything and sarcastic, and they've figured it all out and they're bitter about it. You can't just have a nice character, because that would make them stupid, right? It's basically Westworld. It's trying to look like it's smart, but really it's just a game of, like, one character says, I knew all along that you were doing this, and then the other character goes, yeah, but I knew that you knew. And then the other character goes, I knew that you knew that I knew, and I planned for that. And the other character goes, yeah, but I knew that you knew that I knew that you knew, and I planned for that too. And that's a cop-out. That's not clever writing. So watching Little House on the Prairie, the first 10 minutes of the pilot, they leave town to try to, like, go to a new place, and they're in a horse and carriage with their family in the back, their kids. And first of all, wow, remember the good old days when, like, it would take, like, months to move? You don't just call a mover. And it just it really underlines the point for me that all the new shows, they have to be so fast-paced because they're terrified of their ADD viewers losing their attention span. Oh, and then the big climactic thing that happens on the 10th minute of the premiere episode of the pilot episode of Little House on the Prairie, they have to cross a stream, and as they're crossing, the horse, it's getting kind of deep, so it's a bit scary. Whereas if it was one of these new shows, it would be like, I don't know, the kid gets its, like, head cut off or something, or the father double crosses the mother and takes off on them or something. Yeah, and it's really hard to review a show that's not finished yet, because if it leads somewhere really cool, I mean, an ending really makes a story. Whereas, like, Lost or something, that show Lost, I never watched it, and I never will watch it, and I don't think it's going to ever be watched again by anybody, because you find out they had no idea where they were going, and it was just kind of dumb. That's where this thing looks like it's headed, but I don't know yet. So, if it goes in a good direction, well, I mean, it could be an 8 out of 10 if it goes in a good direction. If it goes in a bad direction, it's a 5 out of 10, and nobody will ever watch it again. I remember in season 1 that one of the writers or somebody said that it's like the first show where the robots are the protagonists and the humans are the evil ones. I don't think that's true. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but in terms of good guys and bad guys, there's been plenty. Avatar, the humans were the bad guys. What was that? Ender's Game, the humans were the bad guys. There's probably plenty. And this world within a world bullshit wasn't creative when The Matrix came out 20 years ago. Even that, it was dumb then. I mean, it's already been done. So that's not necessarily, get over that being clever. It's not clever. And I mean, I face this problem with my current project. If you say, oh, well, that world wasn't real, this is the real world, and that's the highlight of season 1, and then season 2 is, but now the world that you said was the real world, that world isn't real, there's a bigger world. And then if they just keep doing that, you risk turning everything into bullshit. You can't just something has to be real at some point. And it's really kind of just as gimmicky as, like, I knew that you knew that you knew that I knew, and I knew that you knew. This world isn't real, this world is real. Oh yeah, but I knew that world wasn't real, but that world, your world isn't real. Yeah, but the bigger world isn't real either. And you just keep doing that. Yeah, so I mean, forget about where it goes and what my rating out of 10 would ever be. I would never watch any of those seasons again. There's too much that goes. Maybe it could have been one episode per season. And I'll never watch it again. But it was worth watching once. But isn't that exactly what contemporary modern TV shows and movies are? Right? They're disposable. You watch them once and you never visit them again. Avengers Endgame was a masterpiece in terms of big budget Hollywood action movies. But that's a rarity. So now I'm going to watch Little House on the Prairie because I enjoy being reminded that it's okay for a person to be nice. And that doesn't mean that they're an idiot. And it's okay to let a character breathe. It's okay to let the story breathe without worrying about boring your audience. If you like gays, click like. If you like blacks, comment. If you like women, click notification bell. If you like gay women, subscribe. And if you like gay black women, Patreon, Human Warnings, give me money.